So people call me Mike or Condi, Michael. And what I wanted to do today is go over a few things, something I've been working on for a while, studying the Bible and looking at Jesus, and in particular, looking at the book of Revelation. So, what I have done is I started drawing pictures that are in the book of Revelation just so I could start to see what was going on. Because as you go through it, you see different things, different symbologies. And I had to kind of draw them and put them more in order so I could see them. And to try to look at what the Bible is trying to show me. And what's interesting with looking at the book of Revelations is it really takes a lot of looking at the whole Bible. I was in the book of Habakkuk, or Habakkuk. I'm not sure exactly how you say it. But since I was there this morning, we'll go over that. And it starts out, Habakkuk chapter 1. It says, the burden which the prophet Habakkuk saw. It says, O Lord, how long shall I cry, and you will not hear? Even cry out to you violence, and you will not save. How do you show me iniquity and cause me to see trouble? For plundering and violence are before me. There is strife and contentions arise. Therefore the law is powerless, and justice never goes forth. For the wicked surround the righteous, therefore perverse judgment proceeds. And then after that, God is going to give his answer back. Now, God does take care of justice. He is just. Man is not. Man separated from God is not just. And throughout time, we've seen this many times where man has not been just. And if you look at the timeline of where things were standing, Habakkuk, Jeremiah, when he wrote Lamentations, Daniel, Ezekiel, Zephaniah, those guys were at a time when the society that they were living in, they were corrupt. And what was about to happen was God was about to take care of that. And he was about to take care of that by letting someone else that was unjust come in and utterly destroy Jerusalem and their temple. And they're thinking like, oh, we have the temple of God. No one's coming in here. This is the temple of God. No, God let that be taken. And the similar time that was like that was at the time of Jesus. Now, these were the Jews. Jesus was Jewish, of course. And the time frame of Jesus is 500 years later when he comes in. The same types of things were coming. And the same thing was about to hit them. Remember, Jesus said not one stone's going to be on it, another one here, and it'll happen in this generation. Well, 40 years after Jesus, what we're seeing is the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. So I'm going to show you some images that I have drawn, and we can take a look at those. Now, I just kind of put this together so we can see kind of outline of, to me, what I was seeing the book of Revelation show was the greatest love that has ever been shown and the greatest price that's ever been given. And here you have the risen Christ and a faithful bride. And this is love. It's a two-way love. It's the love of God who first loved us, and a faithful bride. I see a lot of contrasts in the book of Revelation. You see contrast between a faithful bride and you see the harlot who is into her own thing. And of course, you see the plan that God has in the book of Revelation, that his plan is to have this love, to take his bride forward to a love that lasts forever, an eternal love. So I just kind of put down there a few things. that it's a courageous love, a conquering love, a faithful love, a flourishing love, and an eternal love. And, you know, we go through things in life, but God is going to make all things new. The heavens will melt, the earth will burn and totally be renewed, and there will be new life there. But those who reject Christ will go to the lake of fire, is where they will go. And, you know, Jesus paid the price for this he was the one who came in making a new covenant. Within the book of Revelations, what you're going to see is many different images that symbolize something. And we have to look at the Bible to see what it is showing that these symbolize, instead of making up our own thing about what we see in the current world right now. Within Revelations, you're going to see different things like, actually, I'll go to the next slide here. You notice that the Revelations talks about the seven churches. It talks about the seven seals. It talks about the seven trumpets. It does not state seven visions, but you can pick out and see seven different visions within it. And then after that, we're looking at the seven bowls of wrath. And then there's the last 6 chapters of the Bible that looks like they can be broken up into 3 chapters each. And then we'll look at what each one of these sections are showing. My particular view may not be the right view, because there's different views to look at the situation with the Bible. Now, the most prevalent view that people look at the book of Revelations right now is that everything in here is going to be the future. And that's the way I was shown in the first as I started looking at it. But the more I looked at the Bible and looked at history, the more I could see that this really could possibly be talking about a great deal about what specifically happened in Jerusalem when it was utterly destroyed at 70 AD, 40 years after Jesus. So that's just another view. But whichever view you have, we still have Jesus coming back, and he has paid the price for our sins. And we can turn to him, and where he has taken sins on himself. He died with those sins, that all sins can be wiped out, and that we can be born again in him, turn into him, and have a right relationship with God, and no longer have the accuser coming against us. So now let's go to, I guess what we could do is do a real quick look. And we're going to look at the first section of the 7 would be the 7 letters to 7 churches. Now, what's interesting here, what we have is Jesus. Now, you know, we're used to looking at Jesus, and actually, we're getting close to Easter, and we're thinking of Jesus. But what does the risen Christ look like? Well, Revelation shows us what the risen Christ looks like. He has eyes of fire. He has a sword coming out of his mouth. He's got feet of brass, and he's got a band of gold around his chest. Now, I don't actually know if that goes around his chest or over his shoulder and chest. I'm not sure how it went. I just drew it like this. 7 stars in his hands, which says are the 7 angels. And the lampstand, he's seen in the lampstand, which are the 7 churches. And so I'm just going to go through these kind of quickly so we can look at them. You know what's interesting, though? With the sword coming out of his mouth, we see this in the Old Testament, that God was going to send his with the sword coming out of his mouth, that he was making a new covenant. And we see that in the Old Testament, long before Jesus ever came. Now, the next section that we're going to look at is Well, chapter 1 through 3 is the first section, 7 letters to 7 churches. And then chapter 4 is going to be the throne room of God. And then chapter 5 is when we see the lion and the lamb. Now, Jesus is a lion. He's shown as he is, and he's also a lamb as though he had been slain. And what you notice on him, he has 7 horns and 7 eyes. Now, I had my nephew, Bruce, he come over, and I'll babysit him. But, even at 4 years old, Bruce could understand symbology. He could understand that Jesus has a sword coming out of his mouth, that it's not a real sword, but it is the truth. And we have Jesus, that he's a lion. He's the creator of all lions. He's stronger than any lion. And that he is like the lamb with 7 eyes. He can see everything. And he has these horns that are all powerful. 4 years old, noticed the blood on the lamb. And he also noticed the picture of Jesus carrying the cross with the blood on him. And so it's really interesting to me that a 4-year-old can pick up symbology. So I thought, God is awesome in the way he speaks so clearly and so deep that even a 4-year-old can get it. But some of the images you're going to see there is the 4 horsemen, things happening in the sky. And you see a lot of things within the sky, the sun and the moon, stars that you see in the Old Testament, the same type of images. People hiding. You're going to see 144,000, which you see here in chapter 7. And you also see those in chapter 14, and they're called the first fruits. And you'll see people in heaven praying, "How long, Lord? How long until you take vengeance on our blood?" And let's see, maybe I will get to the next. So we have 7 churches, 7 seals, and then next we're going to have the 7 trumpets. A lot of thirds in here, and you'll see fire. You will see a mountain like it was fire. We will see the ocean or the waters turning red. You will see these images of these like locusts and horses with tails of scorpions and tails of serpents. And you will see, now they're oppressing those that aren't in the Lamb's Book of Life. And you will see the one standing on the waters and the land. You will see him with a little book. You see 2 witnesses. On the next video, we will move on after the 7 trumpets to hit the 7 visions, the 7 bold judgments, and then the last 2 sections of 3 chapters each in the Bible. So I hope that gives you just a basic overview with this in the next video, so we can begin to start looking at the book of Revelations. All right, God bless you.